Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Sophia with Sand Me Down Designs and I operate out of Missouri City, Texas. Here is my project for this video. It is a Beautility bar cabinet. I believe these were made in the 60s. I definitely see an Art Deco attitude to it, but they are not as old as the Art Deco period. There have been several amazing YouTubers that have refinished these, so I will link my favorite videos down below. But as you can see, this one needs a little work. The lacquer has ambered, there are scratches on the top. The veneer overall is in pretty good shape. There isn't any obvious chipping or lifting that I can observe right off the get-go. You can see there is a pull-down cabinet and it opens up to the inside where there's a mirrored wall for drinks and such. Two really large cabinet doors flank the bar area. The quintessential green felt is in one of the two drawers. This lower drawer was a little dirty, but not too bad overall. It is solid, there's no wobble, no cracks, nothing that really stands out. However, if you watch till the end, you will see that I made 3 mistakes that I brought on myself. So watch out for those, they're always fun. This was a marketplace find. The seller didn't really know what she had, and I got this one for, I believe it was $75. My vision for this piece is to keep the exterior as is, just go ahead and refinish it to really make that veneer pop, and do some fun line work on the inside. That way when the buyer opens the cabinet, it looks custom and fun inside. So let's go ahead and get to work and see where this takes us. First things first, I always like to start with a thorough cleaning of the piece inside and out. Here I am using a diluted mixture of Simple Green. I buy the concentrated gallon from Home Depot, and that has lasted me over a year at this point. Simple Green is a product that you do have to rinse after you spray it. So you spray it, wipe it down. It's a very good degreaser, but you do have to come back over with a wet rag and rinse it off, or else it leaves this white haze, which can get in the way later. The inside of the cabinet was a little dusty, so I used my Festool vacuum to clean the inside, and after that, got to work. Started by removing the hinges and tried to get the pull-down cabinet off first. Then there is the piece that you can see on the top that I'm working on there that actually pulls back as you open the cabinet. So it is locked in place by these two little block pieces of wood. As soon as those are removed, you can go ahead and slide it out and work on it separately. Next, I wanted to remove the base. The base was actually held on in a very complicated design. Lots of mortise and tenon joints. There's one on each foot, and there is one connecting the curved piece of wood to the back legs. So this took me a while to figure it out. There was a lot of unscrewing parts of it that I didn't need to, but I eventually got it done and proceeded to my next step, which was to sand the finish off the base. I used my Surf Prep sander and worked through the grits. I started with 80 grit, worked my way to 120, and finished with 180. After I had the majority of the finish off, I started on some of the detail work, just using a piece of folded up sandpaper and some of my detailing tools. I knew the veneer on this piece was actually very thin and delicate, so I wanted to give myself a head start by stripping back as much as the finish as I possibly could, and then that way it would eliminate some of the sanding I would have to do later. Plus, it would decrease the risk of me burning through the veneer. So I used Smart Strip by Dumont, which is a green stripper, applied it with a chip brush, and since it was late in the day, I covered it with plastic and then stripped it back the following morning. The stripper did its job. It was easy to remove, and I thought I was smooth sailing here, but this is a little forecasting as to problem number one that I encountered. Keep in mind that where I work out of is a very hot and humid environment. After I was done stripping back the paint stripper, I used some lacquer thinner and 3/0 steel wool to remove any of the residual stripper. After I was done, I noticed two problems arise. First problem, there were just a few places where the veneer was bubbling. Second problem was, I think since I left the stripper on overnight and it was so humid, I developed these mold spots. I only left the stripper on for less than 24 hours, so I was really surprised to see that mold had started to develop on the veneer. My first thought was to use some vinegar and apply it to the veneer face in hopes that it would start to kill off the mold. I let the vinegar sit for a few minutes and then I used a little scrubby to really work it into the veneer. It didn't work. My next try was to use some mild dish detergent in warm water and scrub it in to see if that would change anything, and that didn't work either. So I had to pivot and use wood bleach. I have not had great results with wood bleach in the past. I think I was making the mixture way too strong, but after following the instructions to a T on this particular product, I did see some results. The mold spots started to disappear almost immediately. I used an artist's brush to dabble the wood bleach on the specific mold spots, especially the bigger ones, and then used a chip brush to apply it to the entire surface. Afterwards, you wipe it back and you have to rinse it 3 times with clean water. If you are intending to finish your piece with a water-based top coat, you also have to neutralize the oxalic acid with baking soda. Now, the issues I was having with using wood bleach in the past was that it would work for the intended purpose. I would finish the piece, and it didn't really even matter what type of finish I was using. There were pieces that I finished in lacquer, there were pieces that I finished in hard wax oil. But after a few weeks, I would get this white powdery residue basically permeating from the inside out on the piece. So I would have to refinish it. I was really hopeful that since I had followed the instructions and made a much more diluted solution than I had in the past, that this would actually solve my issues. And since I am making this video about a week and a half after finishing the piece, I can happily tell you that it did. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. That being said, when I got to stripping the rest of the bar cabinet, I made sure to not leave the stripper on overnight. And lo and behold, I did not get any mold spores. So hopefully my experience helps somebody out there. ran out of Smart Strip, so I had to use the Clean Strip stripper, which you definitely need PPE for. This stuff smells really bad and it is bad for your brain cells, so make sure you wear a respirator and gloves. Finally, after the stripping was complete, I proceeded to sanding the piece. I did mainly hand sanding on this piece. So I hand sanded the top, hand sanded the drawers, and the cabinet faces. Started with a 120 grit since the finish was already gone. Proceeded up to 150, and then I finished with 180. I took special care around the curved front edge, making sure to always sand with the grain and gently as to not burn through the veneer. Before I could sand the cabinet fronts, I had to make the repair to the bubbling veneer. So I used a razor to cut open the bubbles and then gently injected some glue underneath. Did my best to tape it up and clamp it down, and this did work really well. With all of the surfaces being prepped, I proceeded to stain. I decided to use General Finishes oil-based gel stain in the color Nutmeg. Very easy application. You basically apply it, do not let it dry, and almost immediately wipe it back. I chose Nutmeg because I wanted a little bit more warmth in the color. It was pulling a little too orange, and this is what the top looked like after it was completed. Use the same method to stain the rest of the bar cabinet. As I had mentioned earlier in the video, I wanted the inside of the bar cabinet to be a pop of color and to be really fun. And I also knew I wanted to do some sort of Art Deco inspired line design to really vibe with the rest of the piece. My first step was to apply primer, and I used the Bin Advanced for this. For my paint choice, I decided to go with a red. I don't remember the exact name of the color, but I will link it in the description below. Here's my second mistake. For the line design, I decided to do something probably a little out of my comfort zone and paint in gold the grand arches that were a very common motif in the Art Deco period. I had this flexible ruler and I basically used my tape to mold the arch and use the ruler as an outline for the pattern. after going to all that trouble, I stepped back and I absolutely hated it. So I sanded it back. After I was back to a clean slate, I decided to use a different paint color. I had Rock Garden by Sherwin-Williams in their trim enamel, which is a beautiful dark sage green. Next, I wanted to revamp the line design. I wanted to avoid curves, and here I am playing around with an off-the-cuff design based on the Art Deco fan motif. This is what I ended up with. So this is going to be the final line design. Next, I will use some gold leaf paint. I will link it in the description below. I love this stuff. I get it from Hobby Lobby. It is oil-based and it dries very quickly. So what you'll see me do here is apply 2 pieces of tape on either side of the original line design. Pull the middle tape away and use the space as a guide to fill in with gold paint. So after several hours of peeling tape, this is what I ended up with. But me being me, I felt like I needed to tie the line design in somehow. So I wanted to do another line design on the inside of the cabinet door front. So I made sure to tape the cabinet fronts together. I labeled what is top, what is bottom, which one's left and right, and I got to work on making a cohesive design that would connect the two and bring everything together. sealed the cabinet and the inner bar cabinet area with 2 layers of top coat. I used Verathane triple thick in the satin finish. I was very excited to hang the cabinet fronts back on, but here comes mistake number 3. You're wondering why that's not shutting. I actually painted the design on upside down, which basically made me cry off camera. When I got the cabinet doors hung the right way, I thought, I'm just gonna leave it. Nobody will ever know except me, but you'll see later I did go in and add some more design just to bring everything together. Next, I finally got to the step to hard wax oil the cabinet. I'm using Osmo's Poly-X oil in the natural color. You apply it, and again, before it dries, you wipe it back. And this takes a little bit of time to fully cure, but it is a nice water resistant finish for a bar cabinet. I did not want to spray it with poly because I feel like poly gives everything a plastic coated look, and that's not what I was really going for in the end. Next, I wanted to clean up the inside of the drawers. I did end up replacing the pulls on the cabinet. They were originally mismatched. This drawer had the felt. It was nasty. So it was pretty easy to pull it off, but the residual fibers were easy to get out by pouring some hot water into the drawer, letting it sit, and I used my scraper to loosen the fibers. The second drawer was a little dirty, but nothing major. I used some lacquer thinner and a little bristle brush to knock everything clean. Worked really well. So let's look back at the before. This cabinet was solid. It gave me a run for my money, though, of no fault of its own. All of the mistakes I made were really errors on my part. By the end of this, I was really over this cabinet. Initially, I was very excited to work on one of these, but after all the challenges I faced, I was very excited that it was done. Here is how it turned out. It did turn out beautiful. The exterior was beautiful from the get-go. The veneer has always been top-notch on these. The inside is where the fun is at on this piece. I do plan on posting this on my local marketplace and in my Etsy shop. I hope you guys enjoyed this transformation. Please let me know in the comments below what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time.